And there we go. Looks like we are live, or I am live. There is no one viewing it. Hey, it's Joe DeGanzik from Smarter Home Life. That thing that you're supporting on Patreon, whether it's $1 a month, 25 bucks a month, whatever. I don't want to say whatever because my first note to myself, if I bring this up, this is kind of all. I'm no stranger to video, and I've been doing things live, but it's been a while. So, anyways. Thank you. Let me look directly. Why do they put the, can we get webcams that are just in the middle of the monitor? That would be even better. Anyways, thank you so much for supporting Smarter Home Life. This, what used to be an experiment, I guess you could say it's still an experiment until it actually completely starts making money. Anyways, it started over soon to be 3.5 years ago. It continues to this day. It is soon to be supporting itself, but part of that support does come directly from you guys, and I am incredibly appreciative. Like I can't say thank you enough. This is the first business that I've run, not the first business, but the first business I've run that includes this crowdfunding element where on a regular basis, I'm asking for people to literally help to fund this enterprise. And that's what this is. It's not a side project. It once was. It's not some kind of like thing that, oh, well, I'll get to it, tomorrow. Who cares? No, this is like I live, eat, and breathe Smarter Home Life. Today was the launch of the consulting services, which you've seen a little bit about probably on the Patreon posts. I was up till 2 a.m. recording that, which is a 2.5-minute video. I just, sorry, I'm done with lunch here. Anyways, the short stuff sometimes takes the longest. And so the other thing I want to convey, other than saying thank you, is that kind of where we are, the current status. There was, and this is going to tie into the move update and so forth, because a couple weeks ago, I put out a video saying, oh my God, the show's over, which I didn't want to do that. I literally did not want to say, oh my goodness, the sky's falling and everything is screwed. Oh, we've got 2 viewers. If you're watching this live, which I hope you are now, obviously, join the chat. There should be a chat option within the viewer window within YouTube that you should be able to see what's going on. And I really hope this is not public, but it should just be to the link that I send out through Patreon, and it should be not to the public. Otherwise, there would probably be a lot more. Join the chat if you would like to talk directly within the conversation. I don't want this to just literally be me sending an update out. If that's what the nature of this was, I would be just recording a video and uploading it. So we do have the capability of adding you guys if you want to be on audio or video, so I can chat with you directly and we can get some questions answered. Otherwise, there is a chat option, and you should be able to see that. If you can't, I guess, shoot me an email at joe@smarterhomelife.com or post back or reply back to that recent post on Patreon. We're still getting the hang of this live thing. So anyways, but back to the current status of the show, where we are. And if you're just joining us, I said thank you and all those good things. You can rewatch this. It's going to be recorded, so you can watch the whole thing. The current status of where we are, like I said, this used to be an experiment. We're starting to make some money. I say we all the time, but it really literally is just me, myself, and I doing this. And this will tie into the move update. A couple weeks ago, I posted that update video saying, oh my God, the sky's falling. I really didn't want to do that, but I was informed that I was going to have to move by the end of August, which was a tremendously, unbelievably short timeline. And trust me, if that was still the case, I would be doing a lot of different things right now. The owners of the property, who happen to be some good friends of mine, that's why I can even do this. I have a very low cost of living. I have a very low rental situation here. This is a guest house, and it sits on the property of a larger property. And there's a main house that sits that way. That's the easiest way to say it. It's just that way, out those doors. Anyways, so what they told me about 2 weeks after I had launched that video and launched the campaign and started like emergencies and, oh my God, this guy's falling. They said, well, we're not moving till the end of the year. I'm like, okay, well, thanks. You just had me push a whole bunch of buttons that I did not need to do. And so that was kind of like, all right, how do I explain this to everybody? So the campaign isn't done. It's not like finished. The GoFundMe that was started and all the other information around it, it's just that it's being delayed. And I don't want to put that out necessarily. There's not an easy way to make a new video saying, well, don't worry about it. Thanks a lot. So the goal is at this point is using this kind of new fire that's been lit, or at least temporarily lit underneath me to get things really rolling with Smarter Home Life and to get it profitable. It's profitable on its own if you look at like the P&L for the business, but that really has to include this place because this is where things are produced. I write part of this off for my taxes, so forth and so on. So really my own personal expenditures, which no one really has to be worried about except for me, are very low compared to most people just because I gave up my car a year ago when the lease ended. This is a very tiny place, less than 400 square feet. So I'm living the dream, the entrepreneur's dream of we're going to make this work come hell or high water. And part of that now ties into this consulting service. And I'm going to be doing it with, I know, 1 or 2 of you upcoming soon, which I really look forward to. But people started emailing me kind of out of the blue in January saying, hey, can we just get your time? We just want to pay you for some time and we just want to chat with you. And after doing a number of these, and they've kind of accelerated over the past couple of weeks, I thought, let's make this a thing. So today, officially kind of to the public on YouTube, it is now a thing. This consulting service, virtually based, or for people here in the Phoenix area where I live, I can actually go out to their houses and do that service and support. And whether it's just talking about, you know, an upcoming remodel. I'm working with someone right now who's building a large home, and I've been working with him for the past couple of weeks. So I really enjoy the interaction, and I think the consulting service is going to be really popular. It has to just be you have to crack the nut kind of correctly with advertising and marketing, and obviously everything here is done on a really extreme budget. But that officially launched about an hour and 20 minutes ago on YouTube. It is gaining views, and you know, the YouTube audience will only, it's a numbers game. It's whoever's watching it happens to be interested in that content. So there's an entire, I made this easy on myself. There's an entire scheduling system. It sets up the video conferencing automatically. It's an entire really slick system that's integrated into the Smarter Home Life website. And there's a new domain that I bought called smarterhomehelp.com. So you can go there and check all that out. I think it's going to be a good service, and I'm hoping that it'll balance things out. The worst case scenario with talking about that and talking about what's coming up, I've talked about a merchandise campaign. That'll be one of these kind of like teespring.com campaigns where I put it out there. We'll have a number of things like mugs and shirts and hats and so forth. I will design them and the company will make them, so I don't have to store them or inventory them or any of that stuff. So I can simply set a price and they'll take the cost of it minus that and whatever other costs that they have, and the rest of that balance will come to Smarter Home Life. So merchandise, videos. So to give you an example, this is why, again, the crowdfunding element is so important. And you know, the revenue from advertising goes up and down throughout the year because of advertising rates and people's interest. To give you an example, for roughly every 1,000 views on YouTube, most YouTube partners, which are people who have signed up for their program, make between $1 and $2. So when you run the numbers, it really doesn't amount to much. The total revenue that comes in these days, roughly, from all the different sources, including Patreon for Smarter Home Life, is about $600 a month. Now, I don't know that many people out there could live on that, and I certainly cannot. So as I've said before, I kind of do what I need to do to make things work. But you can't kind of pull money from couch cushions forever. And the more I can focus my time on this, the more it will be really, really, really fantastic. It's a tough thing to do. I mean, making great video content, you'll notice sometimes there are days that go by without a post simply because I'm working on stuff. It doesn't mean that I've given up, but it's the production value that I have is a bit higher than some other channels in the same space, and that simply comes from my own background in video production and all of this podcasting stuff, and my huge background in technology as well. But I've grown quite a bit with techniques here, doing the channel, doing all the videos, but otherwise it's been an experience. I'm going to check email real quick, so just going to pause for 1 second just in case you guys are emailing me. Do feel free, if you can't get through with the text-based chat system, please shoot me an email. And that was on somewhere else. I'm like, I don't get subscription emails anymore, but please do. I'll type something in here. Love to chat with you. Anyways, so there's the group chat. So, okay. So that's the move update. It's going to happen. The move is, so I still have to move no matter what by the end of the year. And so it's probably going to happen before the holidays. The goal is I'm trying to also personally get out of Arizona and get up to the Pacific Northwest, because I've been here for a very long time. So that's part of the combination of the move. Moves are expensive anyways. When you're moving across state lines, it's even more expensive. So the cost for the move and so forth, the GoFundMe campaign was set at a very high bar so that the show could be on really solid financial footing once it moved and it moved into a larger space. There's just only so much that can be demonstrated here in this tiny little place, and obviously it's going to be over soon anyways. But there's no garage door, there's no wired-in doorbell, there's no this, no, there's no that, and I can't make certain changes because I don't own the property, even though I am very good friends with the owners and I've made a lot of minor temporary changes. You just can't do everything here. So anyways, that's the goal, is to get a new place anyways, and a larger place would be ideal. Not a gigantic place, but a larger place. So the move is going to happen. So the other part of the other flip side of the coin of all of this is the worst case scenario, assuming that nothing works somehow. Merchandising campaigns and additional content and more views and the consulting service, say that everything fails. And as a business person, you have to go into things seeing that, all right, this all sounds great on paper, and there's been some demonstrated interest without any marketing really, except for mentioning that consulting service on the Q&A videos. You have to go into this knowing that the entire thing could just blow up and fail. And so that's what I'm looking at in terms of, that's the worst case scenario. That's unfortunately around the time that the holiday shopping season starts with the iPhone announcement, because that's kind of where we begin in the electronics world, and other announcements. The challenge is I have a personal red line for myself, and I can't really cross that without going into dangerous territory and starting to pull from other couch cushions, and it's just not a good thing. So the goal is to really make this work, and if it doesn't, I essentially have to go take on a, whether it's some sort of contract work, potentially a full-time position somewhere, but I've run this for semi-full-time, at times full-time, for almost 2 years, and have dedicated a certain amount of my own personal finances to make this work. And at this point, there's only so much of that left that I can dedicate and say, well, I'm not going to push it to the bitter end, because I've had that happen with other businesses in the past, and it hasn't turned out well. So don't want to repeat that. But with the launch of the consulting service, it's a pretty sure thing that that's going to provide some sort of revenue. And there's some other things that I can do that are also minor, but they make some money. They're not associated with Smarter Home Life, but honestly, this is what I want to continue doing, because as many of you also believe, this is the next big thing in this world of technology, the connected home, the connected thing, really. I have a feeling that there's going to be a run rate of about another maybe 3 to 4 to 3 to 5 years of this category being really, really popular as more and more people buy into it. And it could accelerate because most of these things don't come with like service plans or things like a phone. You don't have to buy them or renew them every couple of years. And as many of the Echo devices and Google Assistant devices that seem to be out there, it's actually a very low number, like 10 to 15 million total. This year it's going to triple, according to some studies, and the next year and the following year it'll just continue to grow exponentially. But at some point it'll taper off. You know, we saw the iPhone really. The iPhone and smartphones kind of hit their peak, I would almost say 2 or 3 years ago, and they're starting to kind of fade down. Some people have said, you know, you talking to me, that I should just cover more aspects of technology. And that's true, and that will happen, assuming that this can be funded correctly. There are things like the Wi-Fi routers and mesh devices and other things that really surround all of this connected home stuff beyond just modules and, you know, voice devices and so forth. So that will be coming, but there has to be some changes to make sure that I am not just going to be like failing in terms of not being able to produce enough revenue to kind of keep the lights on, so to speak. So let's move past that. That's kind of like just weird stuff. That's the stuff that I hope doesn't happen, and I don't want to even think about planning for that, but ultimately it has to be there. So worst case scenario is the channel doesn't stop, but simply there's a lot less content that comes out. And we'll talk more about that if and when that happens. I'm giving a deadline for somewhere near the end of the early to mid-September for that to be figuring that out. So a little bit more runtime on that. So anyways, but let's get on to other content stuff. Move update, the consulting launch. I think the consulting thing is going to be pretty good. I was up till 2 a.m. Voicing, not actually producing, but voicing the video. Then I was up at about 7:30 this morning until about 11 my time doing the production, because you really always have to make sure that these things are perfect and they can't be too practiced. They can't be too loose and natural. It just has to be the right tone. So that video is out. It's public. The website is there. It's pretty good. I always like your feedback. I like to get feedback on this stuff before I do it, obviously, but that doesn't always work in a timely fashion. So if you see anything anywhere that you think is not that great wording wise or whatever, please let me know, because I'm always up to make changes to things so that what I'm doing fits in with what people think about in terms of, or what they're reading in terms of text as a description of a service and how easy it is to book it and so forth and so on. So anyways, let me know, okay? So that's the consulting service. I think it's going to be pretty good, and I'm hoping it'll just fill up my schedule, and there we go. It's priced to where I can do enough consulting to then really make a difference in the financial side and have the time as well to continue producing content for the show. So speaking of content, coming soon, I have temporarily stopped. I get emails every other day. I kid you not, sometimes multiple times a day, usually from China manufacturers, people that they're just producing, I don't want to say they're producing awful products, but they're just producing stuff that no one's going to buy over here. It's bargain basement stuff. It's from brands you've never heard of. Who knows if it's FCC compliant or if it's been UL listed or whatever, but I personally don't want to test most of this stuff. And I tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, or your product doesn't meet the audience demographics. So I turn a lot of stuff down. The last thing that I said yes to, which I believe arrived at my UPS store location yesterday or the day before, is the KooGeek color changing home kit bulb. And it's the first one that will be hub free, no hub required. It'll be Wi-Fi and Bluetooth based. I don't know that it's an excellent product, but we'll see. Some of the other reviews have been kind of so we'll see how it is. I've stopped all other products coming in because I've still got a box of a few things that I've got to get through, including smart outdoor bulbs from Illumi, which are interesting, but they're Bluetooth based and they're kind of a little bit weird, but they're pretty cool. I have a lineup of products from Sylvania, their Lightify line. I've got those in stock now. They sent those to me. And what else is waiting in the wings? There's a few other things, mostly lighting products, weirdly enough. I was trying to get through some of the other product categories. Got one final review video from Zmoto from a combination of light bulb, security camera, and doorbell thing that I shot most of that footage a couple weeks ago, and that's just going to get put out there. I wanted to mention also this, something about the revenue side and talking about reviews, and when people send me products. I reiterate this on the videos, but it's never a financial arrangement. I do get to keep the products, and if I like them, I will integrate them here in my place. If I don't find a use for them beyond the initial reviews and potentially talking about them on one Q&A video, they will get set for a giveaway. So that'll probably, that may happen with the Lightify, but we'll see, because they might introduce HomeKit compatibility. A lot of people might. Anyways, it's never a financial arrangement beyond keeping the product. I've had some people, including, and this is kind of private information, but to you guys, it's okay. So when I started getting involved with, I reached out to Kwikset for their smart locks back in December, or was it November? And they initially had sent me an agreement saying, well, that's great, we're happy to send you our locks, but you cannot review another smart lock for an entire year. A year. It was crazy. I kept negotiating with them, and ultimately they didn't have me sign an agreement, and they just said, you know what, we want your opinion, that's what we want your review, here's the product. I'm like, thank you. So I met a few other YouTubers at CES who told me that they not only get their products for free, but they also get paid directly. Like, they actually negotiate and they get paid, financially on top of getting the free product. And personally, I just feel it's a little disingenuous. I would rather have the product simply be provide the statement that yes, there was an arrangement made, and I'm going to provide you an unbiased, objective review of the product, because I don't just want to be a yes person. I just think that degrades the channel, and it doesn't really produce the trust level in the audience. And people like Marcus Brownlee and many of the other YouTubers who have the millions of subscribers and tens or hundreds of millions of views per month, if you run the numbers based on that 1,000 1,000 views to $1 or $2, and usually they are at a higher level, they may be paid $3 or $4 per 1,000 views depending on their videos. You run the numbers, they're making a lot of money, and they're doing other deals as well, and they're just way up there. They've been out in the public eye for much longer, and they're covering the entire tech space instead of just this smaller area. They don't have to buy the products. They might get the products sent to them, but I am saying no. They can afford to buy all the products they want because they've got the revenue stream to the business model to make that happen. Smarter Home Life does not yet have that, so I do get a few of the products in from the manufacturers, and it's usually somewhere. These days, it's usually about 30% of stuff that I will buy and 70 to 80% of the stuff that I will get in. Sometimes you just can't get a hold of the manufacturers, or they just see the smaller YouTube channels as being too small and too irrelevant to their needs. And so therefore they just say, nope, we don't care. And that's happened a few times. It's why there isn't an Ecobee and a few other things. But anyways, we'll get past some of that. So I just want to reiterate that the arrangements that I have with the manufacturers have been great. They don't pay me on top of providing the product, and many of the products simply go back to they go back to you guys because they go to giveaways. Some of them get integrated here. Most notably, the LifeX products are really integrated into the smart home, and the Kwikset. I happen to like the Kwikset lock. I just think it's good. I love the keypad on the front of it. So you can see the review. Let's move on. Other ways to grow the show. And I'm going to check email again, just in case you've emailed me at joe@smarterhomelife.com. If you have no questions, then that's great. I just want these things to be interactive instead of just me making a video about the stuff. I would just upload it instead. But anyways, this will be uploaded, and you'll be able to rewind it later. So I had this idea, and I started this a number of weeks ago with my first guest, Allison Sheridan, who I met. She's been a guest. She's a major tech podcaster. And she's just a really great, fun person. I literally met her for like 2 minutes at CES at the Elgato booth. And I saw her and I'm like, I've got to go talk to her because she's like the Mac gal. She's all about Mac stuff and Apple, and she's just really great. And we've become like Alexa buddies with the Echo and all the calling and messaging stuff. And she's been really great. She was the first guest on the Conversation of Things podcast, which is a podcast that is designed to grow the channel in new ways, because the show is getting about between 800 and 1,300 new subscribers per month on YouTube. And that's a reasonable growth rate, but it's just kind of a slow, steady growth. It's not like this, you know what I mean? So it will continue growing steadily. Maybe there will be some videos that are really timely, that kind of go viral, that are wonderful, but it's not quite there yet. The tour video of this place is somehow now starting to go viral on its own after just kind of growing slowly. It's now growing by like several thousand views a day, and I haven't done anything. So I'm just going to let that go. Because if it goes viral on its own, I'm really happy about that. The more the merrier. What I wanted to do was to take my interviewing skills, and I started if you don't know, and I hope I don't lose you as a Patreon supporter, I am an openly gay person. I used to run years ago. I used to run an entire podcast network and video podcast network called Q Talk America for the LGBT community. Originally just here in the Arizona state of Arizona, and then the whole country, and then, well, the whole world, because podcasts are worldwide. And it was a great thing. We had a lot of great shows. I had a lot of great people involved in it, and it just kind of wasn't going where it needed to go financially because of sponsorship and just weird stuff. But anyways, I sold it, and it's still being run by one of the more popular shows that was on there, and they do a great show on Tuesday nights, and it has a audience drink along game. So they cover a lot of crazy topics, and it's really, really fun. They have a great show, and they're continuing the name and the legacy and all that. So I'm happy for that. But I wanted to take my interviewing skills and my podcast skills and integrate them into this series, and really bring up, and what's her name thought I said her name. No. And bring it into Smarter Home Life. And I got a lot of great feedback saying, thank you, this is great new content, we love where you're going with this. And I'm like, fantastic, that's what I wanted the reaction to be. And I have interviewed everything from local politicians to celebrities, perhaps some minor celebrities, but I interviewed George Takei when he was here at Comic-Con in 2011. So my interview skills are pretty good. And so I have a number of connections that are already booked for the show. The Conversation of Things podcast will be audio and video every few weeks for now. It'll probably ramp to about every other week, just so that I don't get too far ahead of myself and get too much into one thing versus another thing. So there's a couple more people booked already. And then those are people that, well, you guys don't know, but one of them was on the show a year ago, the CEO, co-founder of Yonomi, Kent Dixon. Yonomi is a home automation control app for iOS and Android, and doesn't need hubs. And it's a pretty cool thing, very similar to Stringify and that other weird named app that I can't think of right now. So they'll be on the show. A friend of mine who works for the International Dark Sky Association in Tucson. We're going to talk about lighting and the Internet of Things and how it revolves around that, and LED stuff. So that stuff will be good. I'll be also reaching out to other major journalists in the space, tech journalists, people that you've heard of. And also I'll be working with the various companies that I've built relationships with, and we'll be talking to their CEOs and founders and technology people about all the stuff that they're doing. And I think it's going to be a really fun series, and it will cause those people to retweet and share their podcasts, their appearances, and thus it'll open up the audience of Smarter Home Life way beyond YouTube to whole new sectors of people that don't even know about the show or know about me. So I'm really banking on that's going to be helpful. So the goal is to, again, with all of this in mind, that's why I really want this thing to continue, because I think there's going to be some really cool stuff happening. And then as we go into the fall season, there's just a lot of cool announcements and a lot of products that are going to be coming out. and obviously all the viewership goes up. To give you an example, the viewership during the holiday season, and obviously, you know, the revenue and so forth for the channel, is 3 to 4 times the ordinary period, which I would call where we're in right now, which is like the summer period. It tends to fall off in the spring. Like March and February are like the worst, the absolute worst for YouTube, especially for the tech stuff. CES is over with, and it starts to slowly ramp back up once we get into summer. And now we're doing pretty well. And as we get into September, October, it's going to be like really, really, really cooking. I can't guarantee I'm going to do all the giveaways that I did last holiday season, but we'll come up with something really cool. I do have some flash giveaways coming up for those Drift light bulbs, probably next week. So podcast series, merchandise campaign, I talked about that, new videos. There's a lot of stuff that I've promised that I haven't been able to get to. Partially was I was distracted for the earlier part of this year because I had to, again, make money. So I was driving for Lyft part-time. That ultimately didn't work out. They have a rental program where you can get cars on demand to actually drive for Lyft. Uber has the same thing. But it just, they started to make it way too difficult to earn money on a part-time basis with their rental vehicles. So I just said, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to focus all my time on Smarter Home Life and really make this thing work. So that's kind of where there was a delay in getting out really great content. And for a while, it seemed like the only thing I had produced was the CES wrap-up videos. And even those were delayed because, again, had to go out and make money, and, you know, life sucks. But anyways, so a lot of how-to content that I had promised, it is happening. It started happening with the videos on the Trod-free? Can't remember how you pronounce that. The IKEA smart lighting, integrating that into smart things. That was directly in response to viewers saying, hey, how do you do this? How do you make this work? And obviously last weekend's kind of weird multi-personality disorder, evil twin video with the Alexa calling and all that good stuff. Sorry if I just said off your devices. So the how-to stuff is happening. There's a rehash that's going to happen. I started and then stopped because last year was interesting for the show. I initiated and then never finished the Getting Started with Home Automation series. I put out one show. It got 800 views and it never went forward. So that episode's going to get deleted. I have already gone through and started reworking what that content is going to be like. Things have changed in the past year because we're largely going into this voice world, which I still kind of don't fully agree with, that voice is going to be the end-all be-all of things. But I'm actually happy that I've been able to take a step back and rework it. It's going to be a 6-part series of short videos. It's going to talk about getting started with home automation, all the different things that you need to go through, kind of like your checklist. And I think it's going to be a really good mini series that is slated to begin sometime in August. It should also coincide with, I've been working and testing and doing some imagination sessions with my brain. There will be that series, which should prove to be pretty darn popular, and it will be there will be a companion set of articles that will go on smarterhomelife.com. I'm really working to make sure that there's multiple weekly items that come out, but it's really hard to actually create video content and create written content at the same time. It's a challenge, but I really want to make sure that both of those things are built up. The site gets very few views compared to the YouTube channel, which gets roughly 140,000 views per month right now. The website gets about 5,000. So Google tends to think most of our activity happens on the YouTube channel and not on the website. So they're sending more of the traffic there. So again, we're building things up. The podcast thing is going to help because that'll be living on the website, and that's where people will go to subscribe. And that will just, people, when they're listening to audio podcasts and going on websites, they're more apt to donate to things like Patreon than YouTube viewers who expect everything for free. So, and I can customize the experience on the website. But beyond all that, beyond this stuff, there is a new animation, a beautiful, it'll be in 3D. I can't even describe it because it's It's complex, but it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. So all in 3D with the existing Smarter Home Life logo. It's just gorgeous, and it's going to be set to kind of like a new techno soundtrack. We're going to lose, no, the doorbell will still be there, but it'll be kind of a different way to intro the episodes. That hopefully will launch at the same time that the new Getting Started with Home Automation series starts in August. iOS 11 stuff, I'm going to be doing some comparisons between that and iOS 10 tomorrow or Monday. Actually, the Q&As are probably coming out tomorrow. I'm not stopping the Q&A videos just to kind of put everyone at ease. And I want to get those out right away so that people don't think that I'm just doing consulting and I'm not going to be doing the Q&A videos, because they're very important to keep up that audience interaction. I really think people love the Q&A videos because they get their answers questioned. I can't talk today. They're getting their questions answered directly via email, and then I take the most interesting ones that would be interesting and useful to a wide audience, put them on the Q&As. So Q&A video is coming out tomorrow. Monday, most likely coming out with the iOS 11 versus iOS 10. It's partially also simply due to the fact that while I do have a developer account with Apple, I don't want to potentially brick or cause major challenges with my secondary device, because it is a device I use on a regular basis for doing secondary camera work. And that's the iOS, the iPod Touch 6th generation. So the how-to stuff is coming out. It'll be continuing to come out along with wrapping up these review videos. We'll get back into review videos once those kind of stop. Probably in October. I don't think we're going to see any product announcements until then. Some manufacturers are just behind on getting their products out to market. So anyways, that'll be a good time for that. Consulting launch, move update coming soon, which I think I just covered. Merchandise campaign will start in August as well. Again, like hats and cups and mugs and things like that, just to keep some more interest in the show for people. It'll be available to everyone, not just to the Patreon patrons, but it will be, I'll give you guys first dibs. I'll send you guys out the link a couple days before it goes out live. And I think it's going to be great. So I think that's actually, what time is it? 12:45. So about 45 minutes. I think that's where we're at. I'd love to say, if you have any questions, please chat, but I'm not getting any chat. I'm not getting anyone. So let me, and I'm not getting any replies through Patreon. Let me check another window here. And I don't see, I scratched my nose, sorry. Come on, Patreon. They recently redesigned this thing, and I'm not really a big fan. Jonathan had replied, but that was yesterday to my direct request. So if you can get into the chat, if you can't, if there was a problem, if things are confusing, please send me an email, joe@smarterhomelife.com. I see that there's 2 viewers. I don't know if that's an accurate count. Sometimes these things don't work like that. And let me know what you thought of this first one. I'd like to do these monthly. With the smaller subset. You know, when we set up the Patreon, there were all of the goals. Haven't reached any of the goals because, again, YouTube people tend to think, oh, everything's free, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's very helpful to have even this minimal amount of revenue coming in, because it really does help so that I can keep this going as long as possible until the other things really start to take off. So that's kind of that. All being said, let me know your feedback and comments on what else you might like to see. If you would like me to schedule these farther out, I know it was about a week, maybe about 6 days. And I don't know also if everyone is getting the messages. I do have access to your individual email addresses. And if it's helpful, I can email you directly instead of through the Patreon system, because it could be that Patreon messages are going to your spam folders, and I don't know. I want to make sure that I communicate with you guys on a regular basis. I do try to post some behind the scenes things and other little tidbits every week. Those should be delivered as a notification message to your registered email address. But again, they might be showing up as spam. Maybe I'm sending too many of them. And I also post all the public stuff. That's to provide the history for people going to Patreon saying, what are these guys about? You know, oh, let's look at their content. Okay, great. They're actually doing interesting things, and some stuff, you know, is balanced for the public and some stuff is balanced for the backers. So it is my first time with the crowdfunding initiative. So that's that. And getting back, I guess, full circle back to the the move and the GoFundMe campaign. I will start ramping that up again as we get closer to the move. The funds that were raised for that are right now going to support the operations of the show. So that has been very helpful for July. Without it, there would be problems. But so anyways, that's kind of where the GoFundMe thing is with the move. I'll push back on that, kind of push the buttons again on that once we get closer to the end of the year. I'm very thankful that I was kind of pushed to think that I was going to be moving, because it's allowing me to really push hard on this to make sure that this really gets cooking and can continue to survive, because I think Smarter Home Life is something that is really going to turn into something incredible in the future, and I want it to really blossom. So thank you again for your support. If you're interested in signing up for one of the consulting sessions, there's a way. If you watch the YouTube video that's out there right now, there's an extra video at the end that talks about discounted rates and special links and so forth. And that's kind of the way of saying thank you to just the YouTube fans and just the Patreon fans. I'm going to keep the $50 per hour rate, and there's a special link to get that rate and a special coupon code, because the public just sees the pre-designed packages that are priced a little bit higher. That, you know, you get a few more things for it, but they don't get the a la carte hours. So I wanted to keep that for all the existing fans. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Give me your feedback. And for all the people who are at the right level and up, we'll do these on a monthly basis, and we'll go from there. Thank you, and have a great weekend. And we're off. We're going off the air, stopping broadcast now.